What's going on, y'all? We're back out here in the shop with Project Therapy Session. As you can see, I haven't done anything with it. Last we left off, we weren't getting fuel. The bike wasn't starting. We're going to go ahead and, in this video, test the relay. We're going to test, make sure we have continuity to the pump, make sure we're getting power through the relay, do a few things there. Then we'll check the pump itself, make sure it's actually working. Try to troubleshoot this as easy as we can. I'll go ahead and go over some of the components under the seat so you know what's in there. I kind of need to be 100% honest here. I've torn the bike apart once, chasing the wrong wires. I got a color schematic from somebody that wasn't right. So we had the whole back fairing off, cutting looms open, and I ended up taping it all back up, putting it back together. We're going to start from square one here and see what we can find out. So let's go and get started. Alright, so looking underneath the seat, you know we've got our battery. The fuel pump relay sits right there like that. I have it hanging right now. And then you have your tip over switch here. Now this bike does have a few other cutoffs, and we'll discuss those real quick. We have our main kill switch up here on the right side of the handlebar. We have our clutch switch, and then we also have a neutral safety switch as well as a kickstand switch, which is located right here on the side of the bike. Now, the bike will still crank, it's just not getting fuel. So it's telling me for some reason that the signal is not either getting to the fuel pump relay or getting back into the fuel pump itself. Now, the neutral safety switch does intercept that. So what we're going to check to see is that we're getting voltage to the relay. Now, on the bottom of our relay, we have 4 wires. The orange and white wire is 12 volts from the power source. The yellow and red is 12 volts to the battery. And the other wire here, I can't really see the color, it's looks like another yellow wire, but it's taped up pretty heavy in here, goes to the fuel injection system. Now, we also have a black and yellow wire that comes off the ground for the ECU. Now your ECU is located right behind the battery. What we're looking for here is the yellow and red wire. Should have 12 volts to it for a momentary startup. So we're talking just a few mere seconds. So to start this, I'm going to back probe my orange and white wire here and see if we get 12 volts to my relay. So ignition switch is on. We are going to back check it here. And you guys can see I've got this touching inside the clip. And we have 12 volts at the source. Make sure my ground is good. And then we actually have 10 volts, probably because it's been sitting for a couple days. So we know voltage is coming to the relay. Now we're going to check the yellow and red wire, which you guys can see is right there next to it. Now this is only going to have a matter of mere seconds showing that we have a voltage to it. So we're going to stick this in there, and you can tell it currently doesn't read voltage to it. Now let's go ahead and turn on the key and see what happens, or turn it off and start it back up. Turning the key back on. You heard the relay click. Hold on, guys. I'm not getting a good back feed on the wire here. Alright, we're going to go ahead and turn the key back on and try a second time. I've had to re-wedge my probes in here. Getting 0.2 volts. Look, we're getting 10 volts to this. And it's only momentary, so you gotta watch quick. Now, we know from this wire, the yellow and red, we should have power here at the same time. The easiest way to check is if I have continuity, I know the power should be transferring, or I could try to do the same thing, but I won't be able to show you on camera. Easy check. We'll switch this over to continuity. If I take my ground wire and fish it back out of here, we'll probe the yellow and red, so I know the wire to the fuel pump is good. Now we have to test the pump. So let me show you what I got. I've got my tank sitting on a table, feeding a line into my jug. This is our 4-prong connector, and you can tell yellow and red are right here, and then black and white should be our ground. So we'll figure out how to probe those, probably using the Jeep battery because it'll be easiest because we're sitting right next to Gus. Now as we go through this video, I do want to apologize for all the background noise. It seems like all my neighbors are out doing yard work today, so hopefully you guys can hear me okay. Now this is going to be a little tricky just because we're tight for space and hands. Pardon me getting right up in your grill here, guys. So we're going to hook the ground wire to the ground side and the positive wire to the positive side and see if our pump kicks on. Now either one of two things are going to happen. I'm going to make a huge mess, or this is not going to turn on at all. I'm not getting anything off my pump. Try it again, but this looks like this is going to be our problem. Yeah, I'm not getting any power to the pump. Let me go look at the connector there and make sure I have the right wires. After consulting our connection, the pump is kicking on, but we have really low fuel flow. So possibly a dirty fuel filter, or the pump is just getting tired. So, we'll go ahead and drain the fuel out of the tank. And I guess we'll start looking at pumps and fuel filter mods. Well, we got fuel, but it seems like we have some really low pressure. Definitely not 35 to 40 psi or whatever the fuel injection needs. So, these things are known for the high flow pumps or the high flow filters to get clogged up. I'll have to order a pump, and there is a bypass mod to put a filter on the frame rail. That way we have a bigger capacity filter. So we'll go and get that on order and go from there. Well, y'all, it's been a couple days. Sorry. Trying to get my day started here. Fuel pump showed up yesterday. We left off diagnosing that we had low fuel pressure. These things run about 40 to 50 psi, I think, on these Suzuki Vstroms. So like I said, I got the pump in. We're going to take the old pump out. We're going to go ahead and get that on the workbench and then start tearing it apart. The game plan is to bypass the high flow filter and just run a filter on the frame rail. So bear with me as I wake up here with my morning coffee, and then we'll get taking this thing out of the tank. Alright, so we're going to start by taking off the 5 screws that hold the sending unit to the tank. Now I'm hoping I drained enough fuel so this doesn't leak out, because I got almost 3 gallons out of this thing. The last I need is a gasoline bath. Make sure you put the screws somewhere where you're going to find them. Here's a close-up of our fuel pump and our fuel sending unit wiring. You can see we have a blue wire. Sorry guys. A blue wire goes to the fuel pump. That's our hot. That goes to the far right side of the pump. Get a better look at it. And of course we have our O-ring still on here, but I'm not worried about that. Then we have red and black. The red wire goes in the middle, and the black wire goes to the far left. Now the red and the black wire, see on these three posts, belong to the sending unit. The ground wire for the fuel pump is over here on the side of this thing. So remember, black for the fuel pump, the ground for the fuel pump is by itself on the side of the pump. Then, starting from left to right, we have black for the sending unit, red for the sending unit, and then blue for the fuel pump. Now what we're going to do is disconnect these wires and get the sending unit disconnected so we can set the sending unit aside. Once we get the sending unit off, then we're going to start on working our fuel pump out of here and start getting this replaced. I do have a new pump from Quantum Fuel Systems. It was about 80 bucks. Got here in a couple days. So now we can start our teardown and go from there. Before we tear down the fuel pump assembly, I wanted to show you guys the part number that I got from Quantum Fuel Pumps. So let me go ahead and show you that right now. Now these three nuts are 7 millimeters. You want to make sure, if you guys don't have a video to reference, take pictures of the wiring. It will save you a headache. We're going to just take these off and set the nuts aside for reassembly. I usually keep a jar lid around just for small parts like that. As you can see right here. Just something simple, kind of like a bolt tray without taking up so much space. And yes, I know the O-ring is still on here, and my life would be easier without it on there. So you get these three nuts off, and then we can take the screws off for the sending unit and cut one zip tie that holds the sending unit wiring to the fuel pump assembly. With the wiring undone, we've got two screws holding the sending unit in. And I should have cut this wire out of the way earlier, but haven't got to it yet. Now with the sending unit removed, we can go ahead and undo our ground wire for the fuel pump. Now we can go ahead and disconnect the regulator, fuel pressure regulator here, and start disassembling and lay the pieces out how they came apart. Alright, so we got the fuel pump off the housing, which proved to be a little bit of a trick just because I didn't realize there's a screw that goes through this side as well that has these little clamps that hold it down. So now we got this out, what we'll do is we'll take this little plastic cover off and that'll pop free. We'll set that aside, and the order came off. Then we have our filter, which is actually pretty clean, so it tells me the pump is a problem. Our little rubber gasket that holds it in place, and then we can take the pump out of the bracket here. Just like so. Now, you're going to take a bath in gas. Just know that. So we have our old pump. We'll set that aside. We have our housing. I'm going to drain this into something. Be right back. With our fuel system apart, there's a hole in here shaped like a triangle just off to the side. Kind of hard to see. But we're going to drill a 3/16 hole on the opposite side to allow fuel to flow through. I'll take a still shot so I can get a better view of it. So now I got to get a drill bit out and a 3/16 drill bit and drill right along the right side of the chamber from my point of view. Here you guys go. Alright, so now I'm going to drill this. You guys aren't going to be able to see it very well. You guys want to make sure we get all the shavings out of here. Let's see. Alright. Biggest thing is making sure we don't go through the side here or making any unnecessary holes through the housing here. But we get in here, see if I can get you guys a light in there. You guys can see the secondary hole is now put on the side. I'll dry this out so I can get you guys a better picture. Getting you the best angle I can. Now you guys can see that secondary hole we drilled directly across from the triangle shaped hole that was already in there. Now we can start reassembly with our new pump. We went with Quantum Fuel Systems. Did some research and there were several names that kept popping up. This one was a complete kit with the O-ring, new pump, all associated wiring and bits. We'll lay these out. Alright, so I had a couple technical difficulties. I was trying to put the pump together backwards, started recording and realized I was doing something majorly wrong. Fuel filter goes on the side that has a little nipple, and you just find the fuel filter that matches what you took off. Quantum sent me like 3 different filters. So if it doesn't sit flush, you guys can tell, we're going to have to tap this down just a hair, and you want to be careful not to break anything. So now we got the pump sitting flush. Now we drop this into our little holder. Now I did put a new rubber grommet in here. So we just slide this in, like boom, and done. Then we take our little retaining clip, put it on, and then that'll be good. It'll hold everything down. Actually, I goofed up yet again. We've got our little rubber gasket here that goes in here first. Sorry guys, this is my first time ever building a fuel pump for a motorcycle. So we get this sitting in here accordingly, and then we'll put the clip on it. So here we have our assembly complete. Filter ready to go. Now we go to the other side, we'll have to put our regulator in, get that all connected. The other thing is wiring harness. This is the time to go and put that in. So clip it in, just like so. Boom. Now, it tells you which is hot and positive or negative. Hard to see here, but if you look, you got a little negative symbol, a little positive. What I'm going to do, and what I like to do, I'm going to go and put a knot in the positive wire. That's going to tell me, because they're both black wires, this is going to tell me, hey, dummy, that's your positive. So, let's go and do that real quick. I'll show you guys what I'm doing here. Positive wire just gets a little bit of a knot in it. Boom. Next thing is we push our fuel pressure regulator in and put the clip on it. Now we have our fuel pump assembly. So then after the fuel pump assembly is done, we're going to take this and slide it into the housing. Make sure we match this up accordingly because the filter is shaped just like the housing. We need a little bit of lube on the O-ring. Spit works well, so does Vaseline or grease. Boom. We put our retaining screws in and then start connecting our wiring. So we'll start with this side first. Just slide it over. As you can see right there. Grab our little screw. And then this side will be the ground wire that we had. Yeah, you get another little retaining thing. That's the technical term, retaining thing. And then we'll make our ground wire accordingly. So I'm not 100% happy with these terminal ends that have just a hard plastic on them. I like to use the heat shrink version, and I'm out of them at the house. So what I did was took some heat shrink, took the blue terminal end off, and go ahead and crimp this on here, and then heat shrink it ourselves. So with that wire with heat shrink on it now, we can ground this out. Now, if you're going to use a lighter like I do to heat shrink, I didn't show you guys this. Make sure you guys take it away from all the fuel you guys have been spilling. The last thing we need is a garage on fire. I usually use a heat gun, but mine broke and I haven't bought a new one yet. So, I just want a reminder. I don't want you guys working on your bikes and catching your garage on fire. It would kind of suck. I'm kind of fond of my garage. So with the majority of our fuel pump assembly together, we're going to put our sending unit for the fuel level back on, and the float back on it as it came off. It's just going to mount on like so. 2 screws, and then we can start working on the electrical connections down below. Get those hands started. Now these are screwing into nuts are in plastic, so don't crank the heck out of these. Just good and snug will suffice. Now it might seem like I'm cranking on it, but I'm actually just taking my time, making sure it's good and snug. I'm not really putting any pressure behind it. Alright, now we can put our little washers back on here because they've all fallen off. We'll hook up our wiring, how it came off, and go from there. Now installation of my wires is the reverse order of how they came off. We're going to go left to right, go ground wire on the left terminal, sending unit hot in the middle terminal. Guys. And then we have fuel pump hot on the far right. Like so. Take our washers and put them on here. Get them hand tight so I don't drop them at first. We'll tighten these up and then take this back to the tank. Now, installation is in the reverse order. Put a new O-ring on the fuel tank. We grab our assembly. Make sure everything's tight before we actually fill this. Put this in here. This is going to be a little bit of a trick. Alright, and then sorry guys, had to close that in a hurry. My dog heard another dog. Set this in here and mount it up just like so. Alright, now that we have the garage door closed in a hurry and get all these screws tightened up. I know it has nothing to do with the build, but it has something to do with my dog is getting loose, and I'm trying not to get all these gas fumes in here. this tightened up and we'll go from there. Alright, fuel pump assembly's in, wires hanging loosely where it needs to be. Now we can focus on removing the air box and getting the new filter mounted on the frame rail or alongside the frame rail. So let's go show you that. So the goal is we've got to redo this fuel line right here. But the problem is it runs all the way down underneath the air box. And my big old fat hands ain't fitting underneath here. So we've got a clamp here, another one for the other throttle body, and then we disconnect a couple electrical, and we should be able to go ahead and get the box out of the way and get our connection loose. Here's our finished fuel line. I missed a bunch of steps, misplaced my phone, couldn't remember where the heck I put it. Here's the old fuel line, and it has some slits in it from a razor blade to get these quick disconnects off on both sides. Now, what I did was took some high pressure fuel injection line. It was a Mastercraft from O'Reilly's, just their 18-inch piece. Took some 5/16 high pressure hose clamps. Now this is a Wix fuel filter and it has its flow. So this is tank side and that's throttle body side. Here's the Wix filter I used. And we have 5/16 fuel line. Now this will connect to the throttle body, and we can put the airbox back in, and then we should be able to hook up the fuel pump and see if we get fire. I'm not gonna, or not the fuel pump, the fuel tank. Sorry, I'm not gonna mount the tank until I have for sure I have no fuel leaks or any other issues with the existing pump that I just put in. Fuel line is connected. Now we can set our airbox back down and reconnect all this. I might have to shorten this a little bit. I left some length, but I think I might have gone too long, because I originally wanted the filter here, but we'll see. If it mounts up, it mounts up, and I'll just let it ride. But we'll go from there and see what happens. Airbox is on. I've got to reconnect our breather here before I forget about that. And then we can set the tank on it and connect everything and hope for the best. Now I'm not trying to get the tank to sit perfect. We just want it on the bike. Tilt it back, make sure I don't have any leaks, but I didn't do it initially. We've got a nasty fuel leak under the tank here, so we'll have to pull the sending unit and see what happened. Fuel pump is out. We found the leak. You guys can know originally I had two black wires. Well, I accidentally ran one along the right side of the tank, or the sending unit, and it was pinching against the tank. So I redid it. Now I've got a blue and a black wire. Blue is hot, just like stock, and it's routed under here. And then we still have our factory ground. So this should fit into the tank now, no problem. We'll reassemble. Before I do that, I want to show you guys how I damaged that wire. So here's the old wire. You guys can see how it was pinched and flat. Well, now we have bare wires in the tank. So that's a no-go. Now the new wire had this same connector, but it was blue and black. It had this on the other end, and I just cut it, put new ring terminals on it, and then put it on the pump. Well, we got all connected. Now we're going to go ahead and listen for the pump, make sure we have power. There you go, pump works. Now, I don't have any leaks, so I'm going to go ahead and set the tank how it should, make sure the fuel filter clears everything, and then test fire it. tank is mounted but loosely. I'm not finalizing anything until I know it runs. I don't want to have any fuel leaks and have to take it all back apart. So let's give it a test fire. Alright, well, I took a breather. The bike didn't want to start. I started getting frustrated with it. Fuel injections is not my thing. I kind of missed having a carbureted bike, which would be nice when the other one gets out here. Bike runs for 3 seconds and shuts off like it's not getting enough fuel. So I don't know if it's a fuel pressure problem, if I did something wrong with the pump. I have an F1 code, which means there's a fuel injection code, but there's nothing in the dealer mod to run the code and see what it does. So we'll see what happens. Take this tank apart again and go from there. Fuel pump is back out. We went ahead and noticed I was missing this little red clip in here. It seemed to lock the filter in place better. But when taking it apart, I also noticed damage to the O-ring on the fuel pressure regulator. So we went ahead and got a new fuel pressure regulator as well with a fresh O-ring. So I'll pop this in, put it all back together, hook it up and see what happens. Well, here goes nothing. Kind of hoping this works. We did the new fuel pressure regulator, went through the fuel pump again. I had put the old relay back in and it was acting up, so I put the new relay back on the bike. Let's see what happens. Alright, we had an audio file corruption here. I'm just explaining how excited I am the bike is running after all this time and effort. Now we just have to install the fairing, change the oil, lube the chain, fill up the tires, and then we can take this thing for a rip and hope everything goes smooth.
We use JB Weld Clear Weld epoxy resin to like put right here. Also to fill out the cracks.
You saw how my son did the JB weld up here. Now we're going to change the oil. We took the lower guard off, it's just 4 bolts. And then we're going to go ahead and pull this filter and then put a new filter on it, as well as some fresh Rotella Oh, we got the drain plug pulled. Oil's kind of nasty looking. This is why you always change the oil anytime you get a new bike. Or at least new to you. We have Rotella 1540 fresh oil in here. A Wix 51359 oil filter. And we're going to run this and then make sure it's all topped off and go from there. When I first did the oil change, I put 3 quarts in, and it was at the top of the fill site. I ran the bike, then let it sit. The sight glass was empty. That sight glass from low to full is about 0.3 quarts. So I went ahead and put in that amount. Now the bike is full. We'll go and get this fairing on, and then we can loop the chain, and it'll be ready for test ride. Oil change is done. Lower fairing is on. We are going to go ahead and pick this up tomorrow after work. We'll lube the chain and take it for a quick spin and see how it runs. We still have a lot of little things to do, like the grips, mirrors, fix the shift indicator, and the brake lever. But it won't be in this video. Feel like this has gone on good enough to get it for a road test. Here I have the chain wax chain lube. This is what I've used on bikes that I've had in the past. Seems to work really good. I'm just going to put the straw in it, apply it inside the chain, rotating the tire in the direction it rolls when you're going down the highway. Chain is lubed. Still looks a little dirty or rusty. Might not hurt to replace it down the road. But let's throw the seat on it, get some fuel in it, and then hopefully we can take it for a test drive. Well, y'all, this video is kind of running on. Kind of disheartened. Went to take it for a test ride after lubing the chain, airing up the tires, and it doesn't want to start. I've got the fuel pump kicking on, I've got spark, but there's something else going on in the electronics. I got the battery on a trickle charger tonight. We'll pick this up, I don't know, sometime this week. I got a lot of stuff going on the next couple weeks. So that being said, we got it running. That's a good sign. Now we got to figure out all the little gremlins from sitting for 2 years, and we can go from there. So thanks for watching, y'all. If you liked what you saw, click the like and subscribe button. God bless and take care.